I've been talking about this demonic icon, this esoteric power that has ruled over the past decades over the Soviet Union and over Russia. This presence, this menacing presence that gives people a sense of insecurity, inspires a certain fear that they are hardly aware of themselves. This demonic icon that is represented by a building like Loebjanka in the middle of Moscow. And how difficult it is for us to understand what it is, this silent presence of a faceless esoteric power. And we can ask ourselves, we can interrogate, what does it mean for us? We who are from a civilization and a culture that are basically exoteric, not esoteric, but exoteric. The Roman tradition. The tradition where all layers of society have a certain responsibility, an explicit responsibility with respect to each other, and have to answer for their actions towards each other. This Roman heritage of SPQR, Senatus Populusque Romanus, which has been taken over, I would say baptized by the Catholic Church, and has been kept and has been elaborated within the Catholic Church. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for us when we look at this demonic icon that is so difficult for us to grasp? Can we see it? Yes, we can. We can see it. And it makes upon us a completely different impression as it does on the people within the realm of this demonic icon. Within the realm of those peoples who are ruled by an esoteric power. Towards the outside, towards our world, this demonic icon makes a completely different impression. It's more like a mirror. Let me explain myself. Remember that the esoteric power, let's say Loebjanka, in Russia has the sole monopoly. Every monopoly is sole, so it has the monopoly over human reason. It is from Loebjanka that is decided who can use reason to what extent. And of course, Loebjanka itself is the only one to reason without limit. With a single principle, reason useful to its own esoteric power. Outside Loebjanka, reason is allowed to a certain extent. If you want to reason about how to make an atom bomb, go ahead. You may live in specialized, isolated cities, but go ahead. Do you want to reason to get a spaceship into the air? Fine, go ahead. Do you want to reason to become a ballet dancer? Go ahead. But don't reason about human freedom. Don't reason too much about corruption within the government, within the military, within Loebjanka, that's not allowed. Reason is monopolized by Loebjanka. And the way Loebjanka is turned towards the West is also full of reason, because we are the culture and the civilization of public reason, limitless reason. There are never such restrictions on reasoning and public debate as there are in Russia or in the former Soviet Union or even Tsarist Russia. So the reason that Loebjanka uses towards the West is always to accuse us, to show us where we are wrong. And very often, also in the time of the Soviet Union, this reasoning accusation of the West was true. There was a very reasonable and truthful criticism of the West during the Soviet Union. By the way, this is also the case by a revolution that is called the Islamic Revolution, but in fact it's the French Islamic Revolution, the Revolution of Iran. It is a revolution that was like concocted by intellectuals formed by the French way of thinking and by Shiite activists. But anyway, this, however you look at it, this French Islamic Revolution in its most active days, it really had very just criticism of the West, very truthful criticism of the West. So it was the same thing with what came out of Loebjanka and what came out of all the organs of Soviet propaganda. What was said about capitalism, about America, about Europe, was usually, well, at least not altogether incorrect. There was quite some truth in it. But that's not the most important point about it. The most important point about it was this critical reason shown to the West, about the West, was never applied to their own society, to their own politics, to their own ideology. It's very strange the way Loebjanka used the esoteric powers of the Soviet Union, and Russia now also used reasoning towards the West, was always to accuse us. But they never used the same reason to accuse themselves. There is and there has never been any self-criticism in the times of the Soviet Union or Russia coming out of Loebjanka. This is an incredible weakness, but they don't realize it. And it's our strength to be capable of self-criticism here in the West. And unfortunately, we don't realize it either. We don't realize where is our strength. Or very often we have forgotten about it. And that's a great, great pity. Our strength is our self-criticism. And so, unawares, we are very much impressed by the criticism of, as we were in Soviet time, by the criticism today of Putin, or this man named Kirill, who has the charge of being the patriarch of the Moscow Orthodox Church. We are very impressed by their criticism because, for a large part, it's true. When Putin says that we are decadent, it's true. When Kirill accuses us of being slaves to sexual disorders, when he bashes us about gay marriage, well, I must say there is quite some truth in that. But they will never apply the same kind of critical intelligence to their own church, to their own history, to their own presence, to their own society. Never. They wouldn't dare to. In fact, what Loebjanka has done always is hold out a mirror for us, a mirror in the West that they never dare to look into themselves. And if you look well, it's not a normal mirror. The mirror that Loebjanka holds out for us is a distorting mirror. It's a funhouse mirror. It's a funhouse mirror because, yes, our darkness, it reflects perfectly. But the light of human reason, it is distorted. It reflects perfectly darkness, it distorts the light. It cannot understand what has marked our Catholic faith, and in a certain way also all the offshoots of Catholic faith in the West, Protestantism. There is a lot of light that gives strength to our societies. That's why we are open, that's why we like being public. And I know there are some decadent forms of being public, like the poor women for sale in the window in Amsterdam. All that's true. But basically the strength of our Western society is we want things to come out into the light. That's our strength. And of course, the strongest light that we have within us is our conscience. And that's why self-criticism is so important. It makes us humble and it makes us strong. And when you look into the funhouse mirror of Loebjanka, whoever is holding it, whether it's Putin or whether it is Kirill, whoever is keeping up that funhouse mirror for us, if you look well, you see that it is distorted. The light is distorted and only the darkness, which we should have seen also by ourselves, the darkness is clear. The darkness is not distorted. We should look in our conscience before listening to their propaganda, before their criticism. That's why we are disarmed, why we are in panic when we look into this distorted funhouse mirror and see, oh my God, it's right what they say. It is distorted. And it is a very big temptation for us now also to say, well, they're correct, we are so decadent, everything is so gone wrong in the West, let's just trust the patriarchy of Moscow, let's trust the kind of Slavo-fascism of Putin, let's trust them, they might save our Christianity in the West. It's a big risk, and it shows that if we say that, we've been looking into this funhouse mirror of Loebjanka for too long. We are deceiving ourselves. It's a deception. In fact, I would say we are now so far away from what we could be, what we should be in our Western Christian civilization, that it's not even a funhouse mirror anymore. It's a madhouse mirror. And I think the people who are keeping up that mirror, that distorting mirror, even Kirill and Putin don't believe anymore what they see in the West. It's just too incredible. It is a madhouse mirror. And in fact, it's no longer the mirror. It's us who are the madhouse. And probably, as things are now, we are far too weak, far too twisted to come to the rescue of the Ukrainians who are defending their country. I don't trust personally at all any of the political leaders who says now we have to help the Ukrainians. They might help them, but if I see the way that in Middle Europe, Hungary and Poland, and also Lithuania to a lesser extent, are attacked by Western European ideologies about gender, about marriage, the way in the West children are manipulated, young children, innocent children are manipulated with this gender ideology. And even worse, parents are completely indifferent to what is happening to their children. I think this is not going to end very soon, because even with the best intentions, we are not ready to really defend the Ukrainian land against these attacks. The Russians are extremely violent because without logistics and without sense of responsibility that is granted to their soldiers, there are no other tactics possible than just blasting up everything, destroying everything. With soldiers that are mere cannon fodder and no sense of logistics or logic, that's the only way to go. But I think we, in our place, we would be guilty of something worse. Our passivity would not be by fear, by chosen indifference. If we do not look at the way that we are being influenced by ideologies that destroy our civilization, that destroy life, that destroy nature, it's time to no longer look into the madhouse mirror of Vladimir Putin and Patriarch Kirill. Don't listen to them. It's not worth it. They've lost their authority. We have to look in our own conscience, in the clear, very clear, transparent mirror that God has given to us, our conscience. We don't have to invent a past like Russia has been doing for the last decades. We have a very beautiful past. And if we reject it, we are like children that have killed their own parents. If we don't honor our forefathers, our heritage will be not lost, but it will be given to others. If we betray the sacrifices of our forefathers who made this society where everybody wants to live, everybody flees to Europe or the United States, there's a good reason for that. If we don't reflect on the principles of our civilization, for which our forefathers brought so many sacrifices, and the biggest sacrifice that they could bring was their sainthood. Our forefathers became saints in order to let us live in peace, let us live in wealth, love our work. If we betray that heritage, it will be passed to other people. There's no doubt about that, because the heritage itself is immortality. It's immortal. It's the direct relationship with eternity. But we might lose that heritage, and we will be judged. We will be judged according to our deeds. That's what the Apocalypse says. And we will be responsible before God for having lost something that is of eternal value. And when you lose something of eternal value, then there's only one thing that's left. That is a perpetual disgrace. And that's what we are risking today.